delighted to be with you again, hosting today's session. So just a few things. I'm sure many of you were here yesterday. If you weren't here yesterday, by the way, we are going to be posting the write-ups, the excellent write-ups from our editor Stuart Dredge in the chat, the links there, and you can always find them on musically.com. Do get in touch with us about subscriptions if you're interested. Once again, and I will not tire of saying this, thank you very much to our sponsors, MQA, Chartmetric and Linkfire, for supporting this event and helping us to make it free to everybody. The online directory is live on the website, and use the access code SSG20, please, to access that, create your profiles, and please use that as a networking tool. Now, the networking roulette, I know that we have had some problems with this. Moral is don't use Eventbrite for booking the networking sessions. So we are now going to be opening that up to everybody on a first come, first served basis. It's the easiest way to do it. There will be another one. We just had one, which has just taken place. We'll have another one at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So again, we'll be posting the links to that, so please do just turn up at 2 o'clock or just before if you can, to guarantee your place. And yeah, that is now completely open. Now, for today's session, there's only actually one live panel as such, but on that one, do please use the Q&A for questions to the speakers. We'll be asking them to stick around after their live session so that you can ask them some questions. But you will also get the chance to meet the startups who will be presenting at the end of today. And again, the links are in the chat, and we'll be promoting those links later on after the presentations, because they're in individual Zoom rooms. And just a final reminder, do submit your questions for the Ask the Experts digital marketing panel on Friday. And don't forget, you can vote in the campaign of the year on Friday as well. And please use the hashtag Sandbox Summit if you're tweeting about the event. So, quick look at what's coming up for you today. So, we will be kicking off in a moment with an absolutely excellent interview with Kate Camp and Genius. Then I will be talking with Troy Carter from Q&A and Denzyl Feigelson from Platoon, two companies who are basically providing artist-related services in the new world in which we live. And then the manager's view, chaired by Jake Beaumont-Nesbitt from IMMF, picks up on this sort of shift of power to the artist and looks at the new routes to market. We've got a great lineup for that session. And then finally, the four startups, as I said, will be presenting, and you get the chance to meet them after that. So let's go straight in to the interview, which is conducted by my good friend and colleague, Patrick Ross.
Hey everybody, thank you very much for joining us. I have the pleasure to introduce K-Camp and Genius. Hopefully our audience today is already familiar with their music, not least of all Lottery, Renegade, but we're not here to talk today about the music itself. It's there, go listen to it if you haven't already. They've both got quite a catalog. What we're here to talk about today for our audience is the journey of going from artist to entrepreneur. So to start out with, could you talk a little bit about how you guys met?
You want to take it away? I'll take it away if you're. I met Camp back in college. I was a party promoter, in college, doing concerts, and I booked him. He came in and he just, it was a different energy. Like, bro came in and just killed it. And from that moment, I kind of knew bro had it. So after college, we were both back in Atlanta grinding on the music scene. I was just in the club DJing, trying to help break his records till everything kind of took off, and from there it was kind of history.
And when I got my first start, when I said I got my first intro into the music industry, I told him, when I pop, I'm gonna make you my DJ, and I kept my word. And we went on tour, In Due Time tour, when I dropped the In Due Time album, and the rest was history.
That sounds like a good start, and you've been working together ever since.
We've been what
Yeah.
what 6 years in?
Yep.
It's been about damn.
It's been a set.
It's been a minute.
So, I mean, as people probably know, you started out making mixtapes, then Interscope Records, but throughout all of that, you've released independently by whether that's putting out mixtape to having the power of Interscope Records behind you. What was that like? What was that journey like as both a musician and then also as an entrepreneur?
It was a long one. Let's start off by saying that one. It was a long one. But it taught me the ins and outs of the game and how to create a fan base and how to really establish myself as an artist that the people will respect instead of just a single-driven artist that just get one hit and he's out of here. You know what I'm saying? Because we see that plenty of times in this game. So, you know what I'm saying? Just dropping project after project, it just taught me how to format. It taught me how to what audience to attack and just how to elevate my career. You know what I'm saying? It was all a grassroots thing. Like we started from the bottom of it, and we over the years, you know what I'm saying, through the mistakes, and you just keep building, you keep dropping, you keep building the fan base, and you just keep going from there.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is on the mixtape circuit, you get a chance to really like explore your artistry and explore, you know what I'm saying? We come from Atlanta, it's that hustler mentality. Like we grew up seeing people selling CDs out of cars. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's what we kind of grew up seeing. So it pushes in the direction of independence from the start, because we saw people selling CDs and making money off CDs, whether it's the trunk of your car, whether it's, I remember back in high school, I was selling CDs. So it put us in the mindset of hustling. Your music can make money for you, you know what I'm saying, in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So from the get-go, entrepreneurial, I mean, how you met, it was always sort of part of the program. That's kind of how you're saying it. And it's you've learned as you go along. Yep. So that learning, I mean, you know, not a lot of artists out there have necessarily seen the inside of how a major label works, for instance. I mean, and you had that experience. What can you speak to that in that experience made you think, you know what, there's more we can do here, that you know decided to step up in the way you have in a business sense?
You got to look at it like this. Ain't nobody gonna babysit you. You know what I'm saying? In the game, or you know what I'm saying, just as a grown man, you got to understand it's a business, and you got to do what's best for your business. Like you can sign to a label and think your whole career is made, and that's, you know what I'm saying, and you think that's the least of your worries, but that's pretty much all your worries. You know what I'm saying? It's like me, for instance. I went to my label thinking, oh, I made it. I don't got to do nothing else. I didn't work hard for years. I didn't did the mixtape scene. I done did every little scene possible. I'm signed. My life is great. My family is taken care of. You know what I'm saying? In the first, you know what I'm saying, couple months, they'll feed that to you, and they have you feeling that. But then you know, the real business started to kick in, and you start to understand what this game really is. You know what I'm saying? 90% business, 10% music, what they say, right? So it's like, if you don't get in there and learn and figure out for yourself and understand what this game is really made of, you can get easily chewed out and just tossed to the side. But us in particular, we didn't want that to happen. We seen the bigger picture. We seen the bigger vision of, we can't let our careers and our life be in somebody else's hand. We got to take control and get in the driver's seat and turn up as far as we want to go. As far as we see ourselves, we had to jump in the driver's seat and take it there. So with that mentality, if you keep that and you really just research the game, learn the game, and really do your, you know what I'm saying, real in-depth research and figure out where you want to take it, you know what I'm saying, I don't even want to say the sky's the limit no more, because that don't even make sense to me no more. The sky is past the, you know what I'm saying, we on Pluto.
And I feel like you were saying, Patrick, like when we went through the major label system, like what me and Camp really did was learn, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of like how we linked up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We figured out that Music Ally was like a platform that teaches musicians and entrepreneurs how to kind of do it in the digital age, because we learned it from kind of like the old ways, right? It was like the clubs, the DJs, the radio, all that type of stuff. And we saw a lot of that stuff. We came like right before the pre-streaming era. So our model of business was different. It was just like go in the club, get it to the DJs, get it to the radio station, radio budgets, and you could kind of break from a grassroots level. After going through the major label system, you see this a lot more about what's your deal looking like, first of all. What, you know what I'm saying? How much are they investing in your career? you know, say how many albums you got, those type of specifics, and just finding out the different departments at the label, whether it's the digital team, whether it's somebody that's on the sync side. So I feel like when we was with a major, we were very conscious of learning the game on a big level at the same time. So I think after we went through that phase, we realized that we could kind of simulate that because we had already had like a business model. We just had to kind of upgrade it into this new
system,
digital streaming era.
Do you think that's something like specific to your genre? Like, I mean, you've talked about that being part of day one of, you know, being out there hustling, people selling CDs. Do you feel like that's specific to the genre, or is that something that's across all music?
It's hard to say. It seems really like something a little bit more specific to hip hop, because I really do believe that when it comes to like certain pop artists and like I think like country may be predominantly still radio driven, merge driven, rock is still tour driven.
Different blueprints.
So it's different blueprints across the board. A lot of it too is like end of the day is like how much money is being spent, you know, so you can skip a lot of steps depending on what your budget is actually looking like.
Your budget, if your budget is healthy, you're in good hands.
So you kind of like switch between talking about musician and business person and entrepreneur. And I think that there's been a bit of a mantra like within the music industry of like artists as entrepreneurs. It makes sense and it's easy. As in all artists should be entrepreneurs. And I would say from my personal experience, it doesn't necessarily feel like all artists are going to be able to be entrepreneurs. I mean, have you all seen that? And can you like talk to that at all about this idea that every artist should be an entrepreneur? What does it actually take to cross over and do that?
Artists, I mean, it just like, I feel like with us, like we said, we had a background that was kind of entrepreneurial. Like even before the music, you know what I'm saying, we were kind of in the same lane. Like Camp was throwing events in Atlanta, I was throwing events. So we had businesses going. So it's kind of like was in our DNA. Some artists, it's just, they don't understand the risk. Like we understood risk from early. Like we understood putting up $50,000 on a party, booking an event, and it rained and it just flops. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you lose it. So you're kind of like risk. The music industry, artists as an entrepreneur, they don't understand the risk of what goes into it. Like everybody's not ready to put 100,000 on a record and lose it and be able to just go back to the studio the next day and be like, let's just run it up again and do it again. So I think that is, I don't think they understand the barriers to entry as far as, you know, in truly, whether it's a JV with a label or whether it's you're fully independent. Like we're fully independent. So we're all the way from studio to distribution, to label, to marketing, to digital. So a lot of people don't understand what that actually entails, whether you're going to keep that business in-house, whether you're going to outsource that. How is that going to look for your overall overhead versus music royalties coming in way down the line and having that initial investment to be able to float your business all the way to your royalty payments come in as a label. I don't think a lot of artists truly understands just the risk of it all.
If you're not going to put the money up, don't get in this game.
So do you think coming in as an artist and sort of say crossing over, though it sounds like it's been inherent in what you've done always, do you feel like there was challenges? You know, there's certainly a challenge being accepted as an artist, as a credible artist. Do you think there were also like a further set of challenges of, okay, I've established that, but also being established and taken seriously as a business person?
Of course, it's just like starting over. It's like step one, you know what I'm saying, as far as being an artist, you know what I'm saying. Now the folks in the business world got to respect you as a businessman, you know what I'm saying, because they still looking at you as the artist, you know what I'm saying, person that make rap music, you know what I'm saying, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying, they still looking at you in that light. So I feed off that. I feed off that type of energy just to, you know what I'm saying, I love proving myself. I love proving people wrong. I love just challenging myself to new lanes where, you know what I'm saying, I can learn more. I can experience more, you know what I'm saying, and make as much revenue for the company as I can, you know what I'm saying, and putting my artists in position to become superstars and be bigger than K Camp, you know what I'm saying, whatever it is. But I'm ready, you know. This is what I do, you know what I'm saying. I thrive off of it. I can't wait to see what 2021 looking like. Even though the world is crazy right now, I can't wait to see what the label is looking like for 21. You know what I'm saying? Because we have done so much in the short period of time with little to nothing. Just, you know what I'm saying, off hustle, off knowledge, off just faith, you know, and just really putting in the work and understanding what we got to do to get to the next level. So, you know, it's looking real gorgeous for Rare Sound in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think the respect will come. Like you said, we come from understanding, like, so for example, like when we're coming up, it was always like an intermediary person between, like, you could be the biggest in Atlanta, but you had to know somebody, you know what I'm saying, that was kind of like to get you to that conversation with the majors, because they're not, even if you're out here hustling and doing it, they're not necessarily looking at you as an entrepreneur, especially in hip hop, because in hip hop is so much, I feel like, negative connotations that go with some of the music. Sometimes it makes the industry look at young entrepreneurs like, can we take that risk if we're a major label, like giving them $100 million or $10 million to trust that they will make, that this will investment, they will make it into something profitable. So I think there's always that kind of stigma, especially in hip hop, but I think it's changing. Thank you, Jay-Z.
Thank you. Call me.
So Rare Sound. You're obviously at Rare Studios right now. Rare Sound's a label. What is Rare Sound, and where did this come from?
Rare Sound is a lifestyle, man. It was created in LA, I think around 2016, the end of 2016, when we had moved to LA, and we understood that without getting back to Atlanta, it'd be a slippery slope. You know what I'm saying? We had to get back to Atlanta, connect with the culture, and during that time, we called ourselves slumlords. You know what I'm saying? And we was based off a different, you know what I'm saying, it was a different perception of how we was moving. We was wild, we was young, we was drinking, we was partying, we were just, and I knew in order for us to evolve, we had to change the brand. We had to become more universal. We had to become something that everybody can connect to. And you know what I'm saying? It took weeks to really just figure out what it was gonna be. And when I looked myself in the mirror, not literally, but I had to understand who I was as an artist. I had to understand who I was to understand what this, you know what I'm saying, what the future was. And I looked at myself as a unicorn. You know what I'm saying? I don't be in the clout. You know what I'm saying? I don't do the extra. I do my music. I stay in my lane. I understand who I am as a person. And that's rare. You know what I'm saying? That's rare for a person to understand, know themselves, and know what's good for them, what's bad for them. And as a whole, it's just like the rare thing it just rung a bell, you know, and we ran with the rare shit in LA, and we came back to Atlanta, and we hit, you know what I'm saying, we hit the ground running. In 2017, I dropped a mixtape called Rare. That was like the intro. And we fed off the rare. We fed off of it, and it became Rare Sound, and it became Rare, you know what I'm saying?
It was a building over time.
It was a building over time, and everything we do is just rare, you know what I'm saying? We like to stay on that vibe and until the world, because you can be doing something for so long and nobody understand it. You know what I'm saying? But you got to keep building on the shit. You got to keep drilling it in folks' head today. So something just mega just happened. They be like, oh,
that's rare.
That's rare. I get it. I finally get the shit. You know what I'm saying? It's all about being persistent. It's all about being consistent. You know what I'm saying? It's just staying true to what you believe in. Like, just don't. If we was on this rare shit, and all of a sudden we'd be like, yeah, we Panera Bread. Now I'm looking at a Panera Bread bag. We Panera Bread boys. You know what I'm saying? Folks be like, what the hell y'all on? You know what I'm saying? You got to stay on the path. Stay on the path and keep delivering the message until the world understands what you is. And
that's what Rare is about.
That's what Rare is.
I think that's it stood for what we've been through as entrepreneurs and artists too. It's just like, it's so many people try to go from the artist to entrepreneur lane, but don't really understand how rare it is to be successful in both, and just to be able to establish a label in the 2016, 2017, and then be able to curve our whole record deal situation, first of all, and then come back with a gold single in a whole new digital world, like really breaking the whole TikTok thing and figuring out all the digital, thanks to Music Ally too, and really figuring out how to really exist as a label in this digital world, whether it's all the uprising platform. I feel like we're always being rare in how we approach our releases. We're not like trying to just do radio because everybody does radio. We're not trying to just, you know, like now everybody wants to do TikTok. TikTok, it happened, you know what I'm saying? It'll still work, but
We did
it happened.
that.
It's just like we're thinking about what's the next rare thing to break the True Story G's or the Lil Bird or to break Camp's next record. You know what I'm saying? Which I think is through video games and the live streaming industry. That's just a gem. I'm not going too deep into that, but I think that's the next wave to really do something. So even that is rare. We're always thinking about rare concepts that we could do as a company.
And the brand got to stand out.
And the brand got to be rare.
Everything when it comes down to the cover art, to the album covers, to everything branding wise, it gotta be different from your average Joe, your average artist who's just doing this. We want to stand out. We want when we announce a project or we say we about to drop something, we need the folks look at that art and be like, God damn it, they did it again.
That's
you know
rare.
What I'm saying? That's rare. They keep killing it. They keep, you know what I'm saying? It's just about being consistent, man, and standing on top of your brand and just knowing what you want.
I mean, there's something that's always stood out to me, talking about musically, but lyrically, that a lot of artists, a lot of rappers out there sort of give it the I'm on top and you can't have this. And I feel like you've often had a more of a come on, like show me what you got, bring it forward.
So,
have you seen that as well in a business sense as well, of people trying to come after, and is that how you surround yourself with the Rare family and the family and the business people and artists that you do?
Yeah, if we talking about people around me in Rare Sound, I'm willing to give all the gems. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to hide no information. If you ask me, I'm gonna tell you. You know what I'm saying? Because when I came up, nobody told
us.
Shit.
That propels.
You feel me? So I know what I went through as an artist, and I know that just that pain and that whole long stretch and how I felt running my situation. I don't want nobody on my roster to ever feel like I felt. You know what I'm saying? It's like we trying to transition the game to fair deals. You know what I'm saying? And everybody can make money. Everybody can feed their families. Everybody can, you know what I'm saying, take this shit to a whole nother level wherever they're trying to reach. You know what I'm saying? And that's what this shit about. You know what I'm saying? You can't be too greedy with this shit. You become too greedy, your operation shuts down. You know what I'm saying? It becomes toxic and it trickles down. You know what I'm saying? So for my artists, if anything, they need any type of gem, any type of, hey, what's this? I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you. Because I'm still learning. I'm a sponge. I'm learning this shit as well. I'm still growing and trying to figure this shit out. So why not put the next person in position so they can teach the next? You know what I'm saying? Each one, reach one.
Teach one, reach one.
Teach one, reach one. You know what I'm saying?
That's our whole philosophy kind of. It's just like we had to, the amount of time that we had to go through to learn the game, because we felt like information's connections was all kind of hidden from us. Like I guess it's like it was in the previous thing, I felt like it was like a hip hop thing to just kind of hold everything at the top.
Mm-hmm.
But our whole model is just keeping it fair. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we want everybody over here is an entrepreneur. Everybody over here has really good deals where they could be entrepreneurs, where they could start their own labels, where they could develop their own artists. You know what I'm saying? That option is there for everybody that signs to Rare Sound. We don't really believe in the conventional locking artists into a million-year deals, because we want artists to be able to come over here and develop and learn and then be able to take that on. If you look at Lil Wayne and then what he's done for Nicki Minaj, and then Drake, what Drake has done for OVO, and it just continues. You know,
there'd be no Drake and Nicki if Lil Wayne was selfish.
Exactly. You can't.
There'll be no Drake. We would never know who Drake and Nicki was if Lil Wayne was selfish with his success.
So part of that is, there's a lot of businesses out there in the music industry, and fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of those don't come from artists. They come from people very far away from the journey that you had, from actually being able to understand that. Is there something to that you feel like makes Rare Sound stand up against, any other label that might be out there, any other studio that might be out there? I mean, is there something to the artistry that you feel like you bring to the table that a lot of folks can't?
I'm the GOAT.
Definitely. Like,
I do this shit, man. I do this shit. When it comes to the music, I do it.
We start everything with the music at Rare Sound. I think that's our business model. It's just like we scrutinize the music to the T. You know what I'm saying? Probably to the level of TDE with Kendrick and them. You know what I'm saying? We really focus on first the music, and then focus on the message that our artists have to give to the world. Because a lot of the time too, it's just like a lot of people make music, and record labels come from the business side. It's a catalog game. It's kind of like the value of the assets in my catalog as a record label. And that is from the business side, I do respect that, because that's just being an entrepreneur. That's
you gotta respect both sides.
You have to respect both sides. That's one day we feel like we're going to be in the positions where we have to make those really big catalog hoarding decisions. May hopefully not soon, but one day, you know, saying we're going to become those big businesses, because it's all capital in big business. You can't escape that. One day we're going to have to become those people. So it's not like with us, we understand that we have something special because we scrutinize the creativity in the music. So we'll always make great partners to those big record labels or those big studios. We're never like trying to just be like not partners. We grew our business from developing strong partnerships with different firms and different labels, and we never want to be kind of like those guys that you can't do business with, you don't want to partner with. We always want to keep it like we understand something special about the music and how we're developing artists, and we're willing to do partnerships to grow that.
So you've also, I mean, talked about being around when, well, people selling CDs to the pre-streaming era, and then here we're obviously in 2020. I mean, have you seen the sort of shift in technology and in the industry? Do you feel like that's helped you or helped pave the way for you to be able to do what you're doing with Rare Sound?
Definitely. I feel like that's a major part of it. I feel like one of the strongest aspects of our business is the digital. I personally took some time after I saw the game changing and worked on a lot of the developing the playlist and building out a playlist network, building out viral networks on Twitter to kind of support our acts and our artists. So I feel like it has definitely been an advantage for us, especially like taking those early Music Ally courses, diving into all the sandboxes. Like I do a lot of that deep diving into previous campaigns, and I want to always know how the game is changing digitally, because that's the world we live in now, especially with this pandemic hitting. Like it's just like if you didn't see this coming, or you didn't see how digital was going to take over the music, you almost be like non-existent right now as a label, as a hip hop label in the game. So I feel like it has given us a unique advantage. And also too, I had a tech background before coming into music, so it just was the perfect alignment. I felt like I was the guy on LimeWire downloading music and selling CDs and had the only high-speed connection in my neighborhood and doing all that type of stuff. So it's just like understanding and seeing the change and how the industry had been able to take back the game and monetize the game from all the losses that was going on, from the fraudulent downloads and the duplication of CDs. It is just, I'm so excited for the future of the music business, because I feel like once a lot of the developing markets come online, once you see what's happening in Africa, you see how hard the Afrobeat movement is coming. You see once India goes online, what that's doing for certain DSPs in that market. So I'm just really excited on the globalization growth of the digital spaces music. I feel like it's going to be really profitable if we could secure ourselves on a global level. So
music first, great foundation. Obviously, as you've said, business from the very beginning. And then also embracing technology and the change in the industry. So all of those, do you find that those help when you're negotiating within the industry, that people are sometimes like, whoa, these guys know, like, is that something that happens quite a lot?
Or maybe surprised to figure out how operation moves.
I think Camp always says it best. I feel like at one point, you know, we were just staring at a curtain in the music industry, and we somehow happened to like pull the curtain back and saw all the inner workings of what was going on behind it. So when we start talking about the inner workings of what we understand, then it just becomes a whole nother conversation when it comes to deal flow. Because obviously if we have a powerful digital system already in-house, if we already have the studio and we produce all the records here and we cut all the records here, then the conversation has to be different off the jump.
No limit.
So you're not going looking for recording budgets and trying to get someone to when you're recording.
We need joint ventures. We need JVs. Even though one of the people I look up to in the music industry is just like, we're actually on a level now where we want to build the next Def Jam. You know what I'm saying? We want to be one of those majors. I would hate to set a ceiling cap on just like a JV situation. Of course, you have to go through those to build. but we want to establish ourselves as the new Cash Money, the new Def Jam, the new 300.
Just the
you know
biggest,
what I'm saying?
just
one of the biggest.
The biggest. Just let's say the biggest.
That sounds good. So how do you all, especially in a streaming era where it's so easy for someone to drop an artist's name, pop them into Spotify and go, okay, well, that's how many streams they've got. And streams have sort of become this metric of success. How do you measure success?
Impact.
Shows, tours.
Real world impact.
Who at your shows? How many, if you really selling out, you really got fans out there that's going to buy your merch, buy your tickets, and throw bras and panties on stage.
Star power.
And is that sort of core to everything that Rare Sound does? It's much bigger than just a number, but it's about engagement.
Definitely about engagement. Definitely. I'm all about engagement.
Even to like going back to how we study music and how music break is like coming from Atlanta. A music artist could just start out in his neighborhood and convince everybody in his neighborhood, like, I'll record this song. Everybody in my neighborhood knows the song. The song spreads to another neighborhood. If it's a really good song, then it spreads to another neighborhood. Now it spreads to the clubs. Now it's into the mix show. Now somebody's going to come in and invest in this artist, and it all blows up. So we've never forgotten that. Even in the streaming era where it's just like, it's all these big numbers, and I look at all the analytics all day long. But I think the key is to actually pinpoint where it's working. Like, you could have massive numbers, but they could be a crazy widespread. So you don't know where your core fan base is and how to even zero in on your core fan base and build from that level. So I feel like all the big numbers sometimes confuses where, if this person is actually a star, does this person have a real movement going on? Does this person have the potential to really take it there? Because I feel like you could have small numbers, but it could all be coming from Atlanta. And those numbers might be way more important than if you have those numbers from all over these cities, all over America. You can't really zero in. You can't do a show if you only have 100 fans here and 100 fans there. But if you have 10,000 fans in Atlanta, you could definitely go do a show, and it'll probably create a crazier, more impact just in the real world. You take that, you loop it back through the viral. Now everybody is seeing a real movement, and that's what it really takes to kind of just get to the big numbers, the babies, the little baby, like, which is just like a perfect study of how it all kind of works. You know what I'm saying? As far as Gunna, little numbers growing into Camp, when we started to really get into the digital era, it's just like we saw how those little numbers grew into bigger numbers. So I don't think we ever just quantify like, oh, this person has a lot of streams. Because come on, man, we're all in the industry. We know you could buy streams. We know what's going on. We know it's smoke and mirrors.
Well, we're just about out of time, but any final tips for any entrepreneurs out there in the audience that one top tip that you could give to learn from your journey?
Be willing to learn. Step out your box. Get uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Do some shit you don't want to do. Do some shit you never thought that you could do, and just go for it. And I think it's just like never stopping. I think that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, from everything that we've been through, it's just like every single day we wake up and go to work. You know what I'm saying? We don't stop. Don't matter if we're at the top of the charts or we're not at the top of the charts. We just go to work every day, because like Cam said, there's always something new to learn. You never know when is that day that you're just going to meet the next big act that you could sign, or when is that day that you're going to make the record. When we made Lottery, it was probably one of the most annoying days of our life. We was on tour. We was in New York. The tour bus couldn't find parking. We was just tired. We couldn't find food. It was just, we were just so frustrated with, in New York has been probably one of the hardest cities to really sell out, coming from the South. So we was just like, every time we're in New York, it's anxiety. It's all this going on. Camp was like, yo, I'm just going to go to the studio. Just annoyed, whatever, Lottery. Right. New York is scary.
Imagine if that day we had just been like, no, we're just going to stay in the hotel all day. We're not going to work. We're annoyed. We're hungry. We just kept the work going. So
and
just don't stop.
Terrible food that day. And I made a hit record. Changed everything.
Well, you heard it here first. Terrible food and a hit record. Thank you guys so much for your time today. And we'll catch y'all soon.
Oh, that was fun. I hope you enjoyed that. I love that last story about Lottery as well, and great inspiration there. Keep on learning and don't stop. Just keep trying stuff out. That's what this is all about. And massive thanks to K-Camp and Genius for taking time out to do that recording with Patrick. And didn't that boat look lovely with the fairy lights there as well? It wasn't live, by the way. I've seen a lot of people posting questions in the Q&A, and this one coming up, it was going to be live, but we realized that Denzyl is he's actually flying back from Sardinia pretty much at this very moment. So yeah, please don't put any questions in the Q&A, because unless Troy's there, I don't think he's around at the moment, then yeah, they won't be able to answer them. So yeah, let's crack on and hear from Troy Carter and Denzyl Feigelson. So I am delighted to welcome here. We've got Denzyl Feigelson and Troy Carter, the men behind two of the most interesting companies to come up over recent years. And I have to say, when we started thinking about putting this event together, I thought, wouldn't it be great to get these guys together? And I was just actually checking. This is the first time you've done an interview together. That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much for agreeing to do this. And before we get into the substance of the whole debate, I do want to spend a little bit of time introducing the pair of you, so people kind of understand who you are and what you do, and kind of appreciate the similarities and also, I guess, the differences between what you're doing, because we've often kind of compared your companies, and certainly a similar level of intrigue, I think, when both of your companies appeared, as to exactly what you're up to and taking a slightly different approach to things. So Denzyl, you started Platoon first, so I guess we'll start with you. Quick bit of background. Most significant stuff that people might know, you launched AWOL 16 years before you sold it onto Cobalt, was that right? That was
18, I think. 1997.
Right.
1997. Yeah.
And you worked on Paul Simon's Graceland. You're very well known for working with Apple for 2 decades, and of course Apple bought Platoon a couple of years ago. You had early success with Georgia Smith, Billie Eilish, of course. Was she really 14, by the way, when you worked?
She was.
With her? Wow.
She was. End of 2015, 2016, she was 14.
What was that like? I mean, like, wasn't that a little bit scary working with a 14-year-old?
She, Billie, beyond her years, she was amazing as a 14-year-old. She was just concerned about writing good songs with Phineas and getting them out there, and a wonderful family around her, with Maggie and her dad and her 2 managers. So it was just she was very just focused already at age 14. So
yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, and then you've worked with Princess Nokia, Pooh Bear, Aaron Smith, and many more. And so yeah, maybe let's just start with you, Denzyl. Just tell us a little bit about why you set up Platoon, what were the aims, and how that may have sort of changed over the last few years that you've been running the company.
Yeah. Firstly, Troy, this is a pleasure. I've really appreciated all the kind words that you've mentioned about me and Platoon and all of our works, and it's a definite mutual admiration society going on with the 2 of us. Every time we see each other, it's just like we've no time apart. So first of all, so yeah, I as you mentioned, I'm originally from South Africa. I got kicked out for politics in 1972, and I'm very lucky to work within the South African music industry for many years, even as a young kid. And as you mentioned before, I launched AWOL in '97 after being a personal manager for many years in LA. I think it was just the internet got me going. And I just realized that, I wanted to try something different. And I had artists at the time who just couldn't get record deals. And so the internet to me felt like a place I could use to get my friends distributed. And that was the early days of AWOL. And, you know, we decided to make it a very easy one-page agreement, you know, that kind of thing. So that's stuff of legends. And then I went on through AWOL because I had AWOL. You know, I was lucky enough to meet Steve Jobs in 2001 and started working with him, and was there for the lucky seat of, you know, all that evolution of technology, and from the iPod to iTunes. And then I moved to England in 2004 to launch iTunes, but all in the same time, just continuously working with artists and looking for ways of helping artists. And then around the end of 2015, 2016, you know, just in listening to artists and meeting several artists who just weren't ready for a major, weren't ready for what we call now an aggregator, or, you know, and we're pretty happy to live in a community of SoundCloud at the time, because at that time, you know, it felt like a community, and people could get interaction, they could share files, and that inspired me to put a stake in the ground and just go, well, maybe there's something else here again. And as serendipity and karma would have it, you know, you decide on a vision and you put a stake in the ground, and then, you know, Billie Eilish knocks on your door, and Teflon Don and other people. So we were very, very serendipitous to have a really great run of artists in Platoon. You know, Billy, Rexo C, Steph, Yeba, you know, just a wonderful group of artists. And our idea was to build a team and look at what can we do when we did find that fearless artist. You know, what could we do in ensuring that artist remained inspired and did their best work, and was just left alone to do the work and to hone their craft and to put in their hours, and then our job would be to take that, build creative services around that. My vision was to build I really wanted to build a creative team, because that's my passion, is, you know, how do you take that music and build creativity around that, from videos to social media to all that kind of thing. So that was my ultimate goal, was to almost build sort of a creative agency within Platoon. And so that was it. And, you know, we did all the things that you do as a bootstrap startup. You raise money, and then you try and figure it out, and then you try and raise more money, and then you try and raise more money. And then
you get bought by Apple.
Yes, and that to me, you know, was just a wonderful moment in time, because I have this long, wonderful history with Apple. Just a very creative relationship over 20 years almost, really focusing on creativity. So it was just, again, one of those serendipitous moments, and it was either that or go and, you know, just be that CEO that's dialing for dollars. And Troy knows this better than anybody else. You know, when you start companies, it takes time. You know, AWOL took me 18 years to build and to resell and to sell on, and lots of partners. And, you know, luckily at AWOL, we never raised any money, because it was a good idea from day one. And it was, you know, many years had gone by where we were profitable. So we didn't have to raise money. So the sale really just allowed me to chill, and allowed me to have a partner that realized our ethos, and realized that I wanted to build creative services, and I wanted to build, you know, things that I couldn't do as a bootstrap startup, you know, things like healthcare and things like legal and accounting service, you know, just little things that are so necessary for an artist, and build a very strong creative team, and do some of our own creative work, and have the ability to make awesome creative and awesome videos, and really understand the DNA of artists and help them build campaigns. So they've afforded Platoon that amazing partnership, and that's why, you know, life for me has changed over the last 2 years, because now I'm able to just go to work. You know, I can just you know, work with great artists and get the work done, and all that. I don't have to be, you know, doing that entrepreneurial thing, which I've done my whole life. And I'm still, of course, have so many things in the fire, but I'm now at a stage in life where I just really want to build, and on top of what we already have. So
cool. Thanks a lot for that, Denzyl. And Troy, let's come to you. You go back, I guess, as the boss of Atom Factory. You managed Lady Gaga. That's the thing that, you know, everyone kind of is aware of. Whereas Denzyl has the relationship with Apple. You've got the relationship with Spotify. You were the head of creator services there, global head of creator services. You've been involved in developing the careers of John Legend, Lindsay Sterling, Meghan Trainor, Charlie Booth. You founded other startups. You've been involved in investment funds that have invested in some of the biggest names in the tech space: Uber, Lyft, Dropbox, and Spotify. And then was it just May last year that you founded Q&A? It seems like sort of ages ago, but time's getting distorted.
April of last year.
Wow. So yeah, just tell us a little bit, please, about you know, what is Q&A, why you set it up, what the aims were.
Great. And well, first of all, you know, Denzyl and I, we actually connected through when I was managing Lady Gaga, and when Denzyl was doing the iTunes Festival in London. And, you know, so the relationship goes back to like really digging in on creative. And, you know, so where, you know, a lot of companies that you work with, you know, it's transactional and it's, you know, you sort of sign a deal and show up. But, you know, what I loved about working with Denzyl from back then that sort of carried on till this day was the appreciation for artists. And an appreciation for ideas and creativity and quality, you know, even down to Denzyl put me on to, you know, Bowers and Wilkins, which is my favorite audio brand, you know, when I was in London. So, you know, so I think that setting that up is important, you know, just so like when we think about sort of the mission that we're on now is just really continuous of the mission that we were on then. And, you know, and even prior to, you know, to us meeting, you know, that's a mission that, you know, I had been on it, you know, pretty much since I was a kid, you know. So when I left Spotify, well, you know, transitioning from artist manager into Spotify, I kind of, you know, was figuring out, you know, I'd done artist management for almost 20 years. And wanted a shift, and you know, and at that time I was working with Daniel on a project within Spotify, and you know, that conversation led into this idea around building out creator services. But while I was in there, it gave me a chance to really learn a lot about independent music, independent artists. Prior to that, I worked mostly, you know, with major labels, on major label artists, but it gave me an appreciation for the entrepreneurship around it, you know, with the artists individually, and also with those companies that they were working with as well. And but it also gave me a chance to look at sort of what tools were missing from the ecosystem, and what those needs were. And then having a team that really understood it at its core in terms of, okay, when you're building something for an artist, you know, as a company, there's a certain amount of psychological safety that needs to go into the product. You know, I know the calls you get in the middle of the night to wonder, okay, did my song get released? Is it the right version? You know, all of these things. So we started working on distribution software, and so we're in beta on right now. So and then also we acquired and merged with a company called Human Resources, which was Jay Irvin's company, and who's my best friend I grew up with in Philly since we were kids. And it was really, you know, Jay was a manager for his entire career. And it was about how do you take sort of this level of the skills from management and apply that through the lens of distribution. So so a lot of it is, you know, working alongside of great managers and being able to be, you know, a support system for them, but also working alongside of great artists and being able to have, you know, just that patient artist development, you know, centric approach that, you know, it takes 3 to 4 years to break artists. So it's like, you know, you want partners that are going to really be in it for that long and invest, you know, the time and the resources into it as well.
So, I mean, you're both essentially providing artist development type services in the context of an age where I guess you would both argue the power has really shifted towards artists, right? And that you have to be a little bit more flexible in terms of the kind of services and the way that you provide the services and teams that artists need these days. Is that right, would you say?
Well, I think, you know, both Troy and I know all too well how the world works. And that is every artist is a complete unique DNA. And, you know, what I've learned over my time, there's just not one way that works for every artist. And I think the power has always been in artists, and I've been an artist manager since the early 90s. But the world has changed and technology has changed. And we now have these powerful little devices in our hands that we didn't have then. And that's what's made the biggest change, is this access. And so when you deal with artists, you know, it's that they have a message and they have something they want to say, and they have a fan base out there. They have a tribe. And our job is to just help them connect with that tribe that's already looking for them. And there's just no one way of doing that. There's just a way of like squeezing the artist and going, who are you? What are you made of? And how can we help? You know, so that's what I've learned over time, especially now, because it's actually, in many ways, it's hard because of this access, because anyone's making music, so much music's getting put up. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just is. So it's just a matter of, you know, how can you help these incredibly talented beings that have this message to impart to the world with their melodies and songs and their lyrics? You know, how can you help them get their word out?
And being prepared to be flexible.
I definitely agree. Like, you know, when I hear that idea, you know, the stat that came out recently about, you know, I think it's, you know, this idea around, you know, it's not the top 40 anymore. It's about, you know, the top 43,000. You know, it's, you know, and on one side, you know, it's definitely great. More artists are getting heard. But in terms of being able to have people go deep on artists, you know, and to be able to make sure that that artists can actually build a career, and people can invest the time. Because, you know, that's the thing. When you're building fans and you're really building that relationship between fans and an artist, it's a tremendous amount of time invested from that fan into that artist, and vice versa. Yeah. And so, you know, what I'm thinking a lot about is like, you know, so what are those mechanisms? You know, if playlists are churning quicker and quicker now, and, you know, people are moving through songs faster and faster. And, you know, and on top of that, we're competing with, you know, with Fortnite, with Netflix, with Instagram, with TikTok, you know, from a time perspective, you know, so how are we partnering up with those types of platforms? How are we finding new ways to connect those fans with those artists and vice versa? But, you know, that's, if it's one thing that keeps me up at night is really thinking about, you know, what are those ways to keep it sticky?
You, Troy, you talked about those platforms when you spoke at Nylon earlier in the year, in January, and we were talking about the context of the major labels there, and because I think this has always been an interesting one. It's like, you know, some people, I guess, might see that, you know, are you trying to kind of, you know, tread on their toes and put, you know, be an alternative to major labels? But it seems to me that you're kind of both working with those major labels. That's point one. In terms of, you know, there's always, is there sort of always still a role for those kind of players? And then question two is related to that point about Netflix, and you mentioned Disney Plus actually at Nylon, and talked about how you were surprised that the majors hadn't pulled their their content from the main streaming services and develop their own direct-to-consumer offering. So yeah, I just wanted to get a little bit of a comment around the role of major labels, and then hear a little bit more about that thought about you know, whether the majors should be doing their own direct-to-consumer offerings.
Well, you know, I think it's really, you know, when I was making that statement, it the context of it was really, you know, as a company being able to control your own destiny, you know. So as an, you know, you think about Disney Plus, for instance, and, you know, the position that that Disney was in with Netflix in terms of, okay, this is, we're a supplier to this company, but also, you know, it's starting to look competitive. And a good example is when you look at Milan that Disney just released, and you look at, let's call it Drake or Post Malone or Justin Bieber would be Universal's equivalent of a Milan when, you know, when you think about big ticket priority for that particular year. When Universal can put out a Post Malone record that will only reach 10 to 15% of his audience within that first week, and then sort of week over week it may diminish, right? And versus Disney Plus, which they released Milan, and, you know, it's top billing on their platform, and they're going to make sure that it's a priority. In the same way if Netflix releases a Will Smith movie or, you know, or Stranger Things, or whichever their top priority may be at that particular time. So as a content provider and a distributor, well, a platform, you get to pick what your priorities are versus, you know, the opposite, where somebody else chooses the priority on your behalf, and then can see the amount of audience that it may penetrate that week. So so that's why I was surprised that, you know, the labels hadn't gotten to that point yet.
What do you think about this, Denzyl? And I guess, you know, you are owned by Apple, so that's going to have some kind of conversation.
Yeah, we are, but, you know, part of the magic of it all is that we wanted to maintain our independence, because it's important to artists to not just be part of one platform.
Sure.
For now, I totally see the, you know, Troy's point, and he's right. You know, things will change, because you can see, and especially in a COVID world, you know, things are going to change even more in order for artists to reach their fans. And things, you know, people are in times like these, new innovative ways will come out of trying to reach more fans. You know, to me, I feel like we're just all brands swimming in the same soup. You know, labels. I look at the charts, at least in the UK, and there's, you know, 1 or 2 independents on the chart, maybe every week. And, you know, my goal is like, well, why is that? Mm-hmm. And so that's where I look at and I go, okay, well, I'd love to, you know, see some of my artists on those charts. And what do I have to do that? You know, and what kind of numbers do you reach? And, you know, so I do think about those things as, you know, why is it just this stream of 50 tracks or 100 tracks, all, you know, on the major side? And you realize that they're you know, they know how to play their game. They've perfected it over the last 70, 80 years really well. And they're, you know,
the
they're
music hasn't changed. So you could take Georgia or Billy, or, you know, you think about the artists are exactly the same. The quality of music is exactly the same. And then when you look at like because I do the same thing. I look at charts and I look at playlists and I look at independents versus majors on those lists, and it's just incredibly disproportionate.
Yeah. And so, and that's, you know, and that's a good challenge for us to see. And, you know, but you know, we've all had relationships with them over time, and it's good. This is all very healthy, and we're a very independent-minded company, and we need to stay that way. And it's really about how do we help an artist build a business? Because if you help an artist build a successful business, right, not just a sustainable business, but a super successful business, and you're partners with that artist, then, you know, so that's where we started looking these now. How do we help this artist build a business? And in the early days of Platoon, we did all kinds of weird and wonderful things to try and, you know, figure that out. You know, we started paying artists weekly so that they wouldn't have to get into this advanced recoup cycle, which is a tough one, you know, but it's a necessary one. And we started, you know, looking at, you know, helping the artists with their business, and they're giving them spreadsheets and how much money do you need to live, and how do you, you know, all those kinds of things that you start thinking, because there is a right brain, left brain thing that happens with artists. And I know that from being a manager and being an artist myself. You know, I just happened to be the one in the band that always took care of business, but the other people just didn't care. It just wasn't in their nature. And there is a lot of that in artists. And now we need to kind of build a new, and there's a new generation of artists who are seeing the making of money just as creative as the making of music. And that's what's exciting to us at this moment in time, this new generation of artists who have something to say and do understand that, you know, they need to have successful businesses.
Do you see, I mean, you know, I guess you both sides have been focusing a little bit more on kind of newer artists and developing artists, but with the more established artists who, you know, maybe have been built up with major labels behind them, are they getting more options as well these days in terms of, you know, who might be financing their activities and who might be backing them as well? As we, you know, I think, again, I'm thinking back to you, Troy, at Nylon. I think, you know, talking about the likes of bigger artists like Drake, where you might get, you know, someone coming and just buying out with a huge amount of money that might be hard for someone like Universal to compete with, you know, to back them. Do you see that those more established artists are going to get more and more options from diverse players?
Yeah, you know, when you look at music as an asset class, you know, it becomes very attractive because of the predictability. You know, when you have catalog, and especially when you have history, and you see like what Merck has been able to do in terms of catching
hypnosis,
with hypnosis is. I think he caught the industry off guard with his approach, and I think it was brilliant execution in terms of how he's done it, and it's a game that, you know, it's basically like how Netflix caught the studios off guard. You know, because it was this history of the way business had been done, and for him to come in so aggressively. And I think the markets, whether it's, you know, private equity or public markets or pension funds and things along those lines are seeing that, you know, it's a real asset class, and is no different from the, you know, if it's royalties from a artist like a Drake or Adele or a Taylor or a Gaga, you know, just these big superstar artists, all the way down to, you know, artists who may have a couple of hits under their belts. So I think there's going to be these different models that are in place. We're seeing the money show up for it, and the technology is there as well in terms of, you know, all of the data. So I think it's inevitable. You know, going back to one of the things Denzyl was saying about that 80-year history of record labels is something that's very, very, very important still, though. So, you know, is a certain level of security that comes with, when I release this record, I have people around the world on the ground in these markets that are going to work my records. And some artists still need that. And then there's some artists who, I know labels who don't do any work in specific territories, and those artists are successful in streaming in those territories. And that's basically just off of, you know, just the nature of social and hard work of teams sometimes, and artists are just great at marketing. And so, yes, I think that's the cohort of artists that may get there first, that kind of figure out, okay, you know what, the US label or the UK label or the Australian label might have been the core of it, but sort of rest of the world was kind of done on its own. Maybe I can take this swing and try it myself.
Oh, that's true. And, you know, in our days of managing, we wouldn't, you know, we weren't thinking of having some of those label services in-house, but I can truly see now that managers are having, you know, their offices are busy. They've got a digital person, they've got an international person, they've got a creative person, they've got a you know, technology person. The data and the analytics and the amount of information you get, you know, is so fantastic these days, you know, from Spotify for artists, from Apple Music for artists, from Pandora for artists, and you start amalgamating all this incredible data, and you've really got some tools on your hand if you know how to read it. And you've got people on your team, you know, luckily for me, if you take my age away, you know, the average age on my team is like 24 years old. And it's lucky for me because, you know, these amazing people just, they live in this world now and they don't know, you know, in my day, if you told somebody, you know, in managing artists in the 80s, you know, everything was a bit of a slog. But now there's just this access and these ideas, and people come and say, Denzyl, look, I can figure out, we can do this and we can watch this and we can add all this data to this, and you can, you know, and then if you really read that, and so I see managers now just really having those services in-house. And I think
do enough management companies really understand how to use that properly though? Do you think
yeah, some do and some don't. Yeah, I mean, that's really the case. But yes, the ones that do are the ones that are shining. You know, there's some amazing.
Especially the younger managers. Like, we're meeting a lot of young managers who are just way ahead. Like,
they're way ahead of us even, and we're, you know, exactly. The two of us put us together, we're pretty smart, but these kids are just really,
they're way ahead.
Yeah.
So all of this wouldn't it make you sort of slightly worried if you were sitting in running a major label these days, because you're sort of seeing that power shift, the data's shifting, the money's shifting? Isn't that a little bit of a threatening landscape?
I don't know. I'm not sitting inside. I don't think so. I think they're smart enough to adapt. They may be slow to adapt, but I think they're smart enough to adapt. Some of, you know, the executives I know, I think, look at this, but if you think about it too, it's about the money too. You know, they tend to follow the money, and right now the money is flowing again at the majors, I think. I don't know. Maybe you know, Troy, but it seems to be flowing.
It's really flowing.
So, you know, when the money's flowing, everything's good. When the money's not flowing, then people start getting a little scratchy.
Right.
And right?
And, you know, and I think it's, you know, where managers, you know, of course, you know, being a manager, I have, you know, an affinity towards managers. And, you know, just because I could naturally empathize and connect to, you know, what their role is. And I think, you know, it's been, you know, it's this sort of control friction point, right? You know, to labels' credits, they invest an extreme amount of money into an artist when they sign an artist. And with managers, we invest an extreme amount of time. So it's not like it's a capital expense for us. You know, sometimes we have to put up money here and there, but for the most part, it's time, you know, in the beginning versus money. In the label is money usually versus time. And so with that being said, what I notice is that labels want to control, you know, access a lot of times, and can get territorial, and managers by nature, I say we because I feel like I'm always a manager, you know, we could be territorial as well. But I feel like if we look at, managers have always been in the 360, I'm in this with this artist on everything. From we are going to be broke together and eat ramen, and we're going to sleep on that apartment floor, and we're going to help build this business together, essentially. And so, you know, that's where you see that sort of long arc in that close relationship. And labels try to get into that same business without providing that service or investing that time. So I think if labels get serious about investing that time and making that level of a commitment that managers make, I think they could be in the artist business even deeper. So and of course, remove any sort of conflicts or double dipping or things along those lines. But I do think there's a longer term model where the label's role starts to evolve and change.
Okay, there were so many more questions that I wanted to ask you both, but we've run out of time. And me, as the overall timekeeper, I have to be the one that sticks to time as well. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to wrap it up there, and basically just thank you both enormously for taking. I know that you don't do so many of these things, so we're really privileged to have you both take time out to do this. Thanks so much, and I hope that we'll be hearing more from you. I'm sure Music Ally will be in touch with you soon, very soon again, to hear more from both of you. Best of luck with everything, and thanks so much for taking part. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Troy.
Well, there you go, and thanks again to Denzyl and Troy for taking time out of their busy schedules to talk to me there. It's really, really appreciated. And yeah, I mean, that was exactly kind of what we wanted to set up this whole session. Really was the inspirational artist view, and then the view from two of the more interesting companies that service those artists. And then I think that sets it up nicely now to have our managers panel. So I am going to hand over to my good friend Jake Beaumont-Nesbitt from IMMF, who is going to introduce this session. So over to you, Jake.
Thank you, Paul. So straight in, we've got 4 excellent artist managers from around the globe. Kath in Australia has stayed up through the middle of the night for us, which is fantastic. So let me introduce Kath first. She works with 4 artists and 5 producer-writers, and she's also expanding into non-music artists. She's a very experienced artist manager, and she also currently runs the Association of Artist Managers in Australia. So she's heavily involved in organising that industry and cross-industry dialogue. Karina Sava is based in Romania. She manages Varma, who are a huge band in that market, and also the career of Tudor Krilla, who's the singer from Varma and has a lot of work on TV and other areas. So Karina's very experienced in brands and developing beyond just the music side. Over in the States, we've got Dan Kruchkow, who's got a ridiculous career. Started out with Elton John's Rocket management. He's been involved in innovation at Universal, too many artists he's worked with, and currently he's at, his management roster over there includes Sia. I'm struggling because I've got the name of it's Crush Management. It's Crush Management, so it's Sia, Alanis Morissette, Fall Out Boy, and a bunch of others there. And Tarsem Mittal is a serious entrepreneur over in India, and he works with some very big artists. He's recently set up a comedy division, which is, again, an example of how managers like Kath and Tarsem are working beyond just music. And Tarsem has also set up a news platform for the industry. He set up the Bollywood Music Project, which pulls together like a festival for artists in multiple cities. And he's fantastically set up the All About Music Conference, which is the main music industry conference in South Asia, and looks at how to develop the industry. And Karina has set up Mastering the Music Business, the main music industry conference in Romania. Tarsem, over to you. You've worked with one of your artists, Arijit Singh, for a hell of a long time. Is this just a business relationship with him or something else?
So Jake, first of all, I want to congratulate Sandbox Summit, Paul and the entire team at Musical.ly for doing something so good. Thank you for inviting me, and hi, my fellow panelists. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Karina. Hi, Dan. And Jake, it's nice to see you. But to your question, no, it cannot be just a business relationship. I don't think it is even possible for any manager in the world, and I might be completely wrong, but that's what I feel, to have a pure business relationship with an artist. It is always, a relationship which goes beyond business. I mean, if you ask me what a manager means to an artist, I mean, he is a friend, a psychologist, a financial planner, an advisor, a 911 service for the artist, apart from doing the business and the professional service. So for me and Arijit, I really look up to him. He's one of the nicest human being I've ever come across in my life. And we are family. I mean, not just business. Obviously, we keep our personal life and professional life separate, but that's what it is. It's not just a business deal. It's not possible.
Kath, when you got that extra responsibility that Tarsen's just described, that you're not looking after just their business interests, you're also working with them on something that they hold dear to their heart, delivering their message to their audience. That must put a lot of responsibility on you.
I think it's an incredible amount of responsibility. In fact, I think sometimes that can be quite a weight on a manager's shoulders. And I also think that often we don't think about our managers' mental health and well-being in all of this. I think we spend a lot of time thinking about our artists, looking after them, keeping an eye out for them, strategizing for them, trying to realize their vision. And in amongst all of that, sometimes we can get a bit lost. So I think it pays to actually, put the oxygen mask on, yourself first, and really look after yourself in order to look after them.
Dan, you've worked with you currently work with a large roster, and you've worked with a lot of artists. How do you keep driving their business forward while at the same time looking at their overall agenda? If they have a creative agenda and they want to go to the market in a certain way, are you going to tell them, no, this is the way the industry works? Or are you going to be led by the artist on the business side? Are they only in charge of creative, or?
No, I think, how do we do it? So I think one answer to that is we have a good sized staff at Crush, right? We have several managers, we have a few partners at the company, and we also have a very large marketing staff. So we have the ability to, sort of take our destiny into our own hands and do a lot of the work ourselves, as opposed to relying on others. We do rely on quite a lot of people, whether it's record labels or concert promoters and so on. But we're able to kind of get out of the starting gate ourselves, which is really important. That way we can sort of take the artist's vision and just get going and move it forward that way. And in terms of, I think your question was a bit, are we playing by like the rules and doing what the business is doing? I think the answer for us specifically is absolutely not. Rock and roll, to generalize it, has always been about going against the rules and having fun and doing things differently. So yeah, like we don't want to do the same thing that everyone's been doing. Our artists don't want to do that. We want to break the mold and have people copy what we're trying to do.
So that was a theme that came up earlier on in today's Sandbox, both from Troy Carter and also from K-Camp and Genius, that each artist is really trying to create their own path and do something individual and different. And that's great, but that makes it really difficult for you guys as managers. Karina, where you've worked with established artists and you started working with them after the point they become a brand, but you've also worked with new artists, how do you define who they are, what their brand, their identity is? Do they know?
I don't think they know, or they should. Maybe they should know. When they're just starting, they usually have no idea. Sometimes you find an artist that maybe knows where he or she wants to go, but usually they don't. But usually they find out. Sometimes when they write their own music, they find it through their lyrics, through what they try to express creatively. Sometimes you might even find an artist that I don't know, has more than music into his or her agenda, and it becomes easier for you to work on his or her brand. But there is a huge difference between established artists, because I work with some that were established at the moment that we started working together, and newcomers. I think that sometimes we maybe even, at least in Romania, we use very easily this word artist. I mean, there are a lot of wannabe artists who, just because they attend this TV show, or just because maybe they are doing some covers on YouTube, they already consider themselves artists, but they are not yet.
Justin, you're nodding.
I was just listening to Karina, and I'm sure every manager anywhere, whichever country or state you belong to, will feel, the same feeling. Artist changes, from the time they join you, and it depends on human to human. I mean, artist to artist. I would not say all artists are the same, but it's a very common feeling. Every manager has at least one experience in life where they've grown with the artist, and they keep, seeing the changes in the artist from the time they start and from the time when they become big and popular. And that thing when Karina said wannabe artists, I mean, I have a different terminology. We always feel that in India, let's assume in Mumbai, there are a million musicians, in multiple singers, composers, lyricists, music producers. Out of the million, I would say about 100 are successful already. There are about 900 who are talented but not successful. There are about 10 who are not talented but still successful. But 990,000 of them are confused that they are artists or they're musicians. So the majority population, the majority, the people who says that we struggle a lot and we don't get work, is about somebody, because it's a gut feeling. There is no rule and regulation of being a successful artist or a popular artist. Sometimes an artist who is not a great musician also become, really, really popular. I mean, we've seen so many examples of that. So more than 90% who are trying to be successful, I don't think, I'm sorry to say, but I don't think that, they have the knowledge of the art properly. They're confused. So that's wannabe when she said, I was completely, aligned with her.
Dan, it's so hard with the investment of time. Troy Carter in the previous panel talked about labels investing money and managers investing time. And clearly both do a lot of both, but it was a great generalization. How do you decide, apart from this is great music and we're passionate about the artist, how do you decide who you work with when you're going to invest so much time and resource in them?
Well, similar to what Tarsan was just saying, it's you have to identify someone who's got some very important attributes, right? Are they talented, right? You obviously want to make sure someone's very talented. Something for us that's really important is ambition. For us, we want the artists we work with to have the greatest ambition in the world. They want to be the biggest artists in the world. And once they make it, they want to go further and further and further and push boundaries. Like, we played clubs, now we're in arenas. How do we get to stadiums? Let's go figure that out. What do we do after stadiums? Is there anything? I don't know, but let's figure it out. Like that level of ambition, where it's always pushing forward and never being satisfied.
Have you got an illustration of how you would get to a stadium?
Sure. We manage Green Day, Fall Out Boy, and Weezer, 3 of our acts. I think, all acts who've played amphitheaters, arenas, and a handful of stadiums here and there. And I think, putting a bill together that we did actually just over a year ago called the Hella Mega Tour. It's those 3 acts playing stadiums around the world. It was a no-brainer tour, and we sold hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of tickets in a very short period of time with that bill. It's the old 1 + 1 = 3 model, but sometimes it's really difficult to do and really difficult to figure out. But because we did manage all 3 acts, we were able to get everyone together, put together, you know, you could argue one of the biggest rock bills of the last 10 years. It sort of rose above everything else and just made so much noise. And, you know, we saw, I think in London, we sold 70,000 tickets in a weekend, you know. You put those combinations together and you get creative with it and you figure out how to make it work, and you can achieve things you just didn't think were possible independently. We're really excited to get this out the gate next summer. Fingers crossed on all that.
Kath, Dan's got massive resources in-house and a bunch of artists, and they collaborated there. And we heard on the previous panel how content owners like Disney are pulling away from streaming services so that they can push their content directly to the consumer. Both record labels and artists have a problem in that the platforms that they use control that relationship with the consumer. Dan's got a great advantage there and an experience of artists working collaboratively together to pool their resources and deliver that power. How do you do that as independent artists on a smaller roster? Are you finding more cooperation between managers and artists in how they access channels and develop their presence in the market?
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that. I think there's probably a couple of things. I think Dan's very lucky to have those resources at hand as a very established manager with a really, you know, decent sized company and really well established artists. I think if you're a younger manager just starting out in this current time, I think the ability to draw upon in-house marketing, in-house digital becomes next to impossible. You have to be that person. You have to actually draw from every single piece of your skill set. And where you don't have that skill set, you need to build it. And then in turn, you need to apply that with your artists to try and build them in a meaningful way. As far as having those direct relationships, I think that post-COVID, the game has changed slightly. And I think we're not entirely sure of what the medium and long-term impacts of that are going to have upon our particular profession. But I do know that we're going to have to think outside the box. We're going to have to be pretty innovative. And we're going to have to connect with our audiences as much as we can directly and be as unique as possible and really content and developing content, and not just any content, but meaningful content is pretty key at the moment. I know that, you know, where I'm based at the moment in Melbourne, where we've been in a stage 4 lockdown for the last 6 weeks. So we have not had any other human contact for that 6-week period. So it's been a really interesting exercise in how, you know, how to connect artists who are based here with their audiences in a way that does not involve any in real life experience. And that's been really interesting for us here.
Karina, the ability to build a brand, as Kathy's touching on there, that accesses the audience through multiple channels. It's not just about getting a track on radio or getting a track on a playlist. In the next year or so, will you focus more on that than you have done historically? Is that an area that you need to develop the artists on? It's something you understand, but do your artists understand that they need to find all these different channels to market, because it's no longer just a record store, a radio station, a live show?
First of all, I would like to add something to what Dan said before. The fact that the artist should be talented, that he or she should be ambitious. I would add that it has to be very hardworking. It's not only about ambition, because if the artist comes to you and says, I want to play on arenas, do something about it. It's one thing. If he wants to be involved and he is able to work for it, it's another story. And that gets me to your question, because yeah, if you have an artist who is involved in what you're doing, he will understand. He will understand how things work. He will understand the strategy. Actually, I believe that you should build your strategy with the artist. It's not something that you do for the artist. You should do it together. And the artists that I work with, they do understand what we're trying to do. They don't always like it. I mean, sometimes they feel like they're being pushed out of their comfort zone, but they play along because they understand that they have to adapt. And it's been rough, of course, for everybody, but they did a lot of I don't know, we did some Zoom meetings with the core fans. They hated it because they felt that it's not the same thing, but they did it anyway because they understood that they had to keep in touch with their fans. We did a lot of online concerts. We tried to bring in to get some money on the table, and they were playing, I don't know, just to speak to the camera. So yeah, they do understand, just to answer to your question.
Tarsem, what I'm seeing in the UK at the moment is the 3 major record labels have spent, I think since about 2016, they've really got ahead of the curve. They've built lots of resource, they've developed their teams in-house, and they have specialists for podcasting, for different types of sync, for Instagram, for visuals. They have these amazing teams, and any artist who signs for a major label at the moment is in a really good position. Outside of that, the artist needs their manager, assuming most artists are not on a major label, to really have a width of skills in their team. You started out, as we all do, as an independent operator. How have you gone about building your team? Are you reactive to the things your artist needs so that you bring in data people or marketing people based on when you need them? Or have you had a vision of building a company? Does this happen by accident or design?
So to answer that, Jake, I'll have to first explain that India is really a different market than anywhere else in terms of management. We are the first breed of organized managers, and managers are the booking agents in India. 90% of managers, so maybe I'm being really considerate, 95% of managers are just the booking agents in the country. They are primarily hired for getting live gigs, and they just take a commission and make the artists earn money. They are not involved in the creative process of content and stuff like that, because it is purely dependent on Bollywood to a large extent, the film industry. So we are a growing economy in terms of management. We are still reaching there. There are very few companies who actually do a 360-degree job of what a manager does, from planning the career and stuff like that. We also started as a booking agent, calling ourselves managers. After a few years, we realized we might be making money, but we don't do management as such. And then we started younger artists, and we look at 360-degree, work for them, right? From getting them content, getting them label deals. Also, most of the artists are not signed to a major label in this country. T-Series is the biggest music label. In the last 5 years, they've also become one of the biggest film producers in the country. Okay. Yashraj is another music label. They are also film producers in the country. Eros is another label. Z is another label. They are also film producers. So most of these big labels, apart from Sony and Universal, they are all film producers as well. And the total number of artists which are signed to all the music labels, all the top music labels, will not be more than 10 or 15. Most of the artists are not signed to music labels. So the requirement, the environment is completely different. And to answer your specific question, yes, we are, evolving every day. And when we started, like how Catherine said, as a young manager, we didn't have the budgets or means to, hire specific people or special people. We would work overtime and work with random people, designers, social media, and every day the role is changing. Today social media and digital has suddenly become extremely important. Technology has become really, really important. A lot of things which I personally hated, as a person. I have to learn those things. I have to be on the top of those things. So yes, we are hiring new people on the basis of affordability. Where we can't afford to have somebody in-house, we take help of some friends and consultants, because in terms of business, whatever we say, you have to be extremely lucky if you are able to meet your ends. You have to be really, really lucky. We have a large team. We have a 70 people team across our organizations, and we are really finding it difficult, but we are happy that we didn't lay off anyone and we are surviving. But let's hope, everything goes well. But we are actually changing every month. I don't know what happened 3 months later. If this continues for further, we might completely shift our teams to the digital focus or tech focus. The live might not be very important for us. The film music is not releasing. We might focus our complete focus to the non-film music. So it's very evolving and changing. There is no specific formula or a stage where we are in. I hope I'm able to, answer the question.
That's great. Yeah, I think there's a convergence happening in that if India is coming from a different starting point to Australia, you're both moving towards a point where per artist and therefore per audience base, you're developing a strategy and then you're picking which channels you reach through. Some will lean towards social media, others will lean towards a live side. You're building a strategy and an agenda, maybe incorporating esports and games and all these different routes, hundreds of them now, as opposed to like just 3 or 4 to get there. And that's becoming globally relevant to all artists. Kath, how do you finance that? If you're an artist in a country like Australia or Romania, where the population is relatively small compared to the US and India, how do you get early stage funding? Because it seems to me that it's crucial that the artist has a manager to cover all of these business roles so the artist can get on with being creative. But the whole business is predicated on an old model where labels provided the investment, or in India, film companies provided the investment. Any clues?
No, it's actually a really good question. And I think it depends. There's a lot of different routes to funding. I think over here in Australia, we're lucky we have access to quite a bit, particularly at the moment, a lot of local, state and federal funding, government funding. So there's quite a bit of money that's been circulating around various regions in Australia and also nationally in order to create new works or to market or to basically get material out there and create as much content as we can. So at the moment, that's a really good option for us. I think there's also a lot of private investment that goes on within that as well, whether that be via family or friends. Sometimes it's actual professional angel investors who have an interest in a particular artist. And I guess that those would be some of the different options or opportunities we would have over here to get to market. Also keeping in mind that I think creating music for many artists now it's a lot more accessible to do so. It's probably a lot cheaper as well, particularly if the artist themselves is their own producer. I think that can very much be, a very helpful thing from a creative perspective.
So it's hard to describe what you guys are doing at the moment because it's, as I keep repeating, it's different for every artist. And so you need to build a different model. Dan, you've got a big team in-house. Can you just briefly give us an overview of some of the skills and resources that you've got, which has basically come about from Krush reinvesting year after year on your revenue?
Right. I mean, in the early days of Krush, I wasn't at Krush from the very beginning. I actually helped I was at a record label and helped them work, you know, a couple of the acts when they were getting started. So that's how I met Bob and Jonathan, who started the company. But yeah, the company was very small in the beginning. It was a few people. It didn't have a marketing staff. It didn't have a West Coast office. It was just a couple guys in New York. And you know, they started, you know, Fall Out Boy was essentially the first act, and I helped them with that. And you know, we sort of, you know, brick by brick got that thing going. And then over time, you know, they sort of developed a bigger career, which enabled us to find more acts. They found more acts, I should say. And it got to a point where I had expressed interest in maybe coming over there, and they had expressed some interest internally about growing the company into a marketing team. And I think, you know, the idea was sort of doing it brick by brick, right? So, you know, I came in first. They actually had a digital marketing person there before I was there. I think digital is such a big part of our focus, and it's always been since the beginning. So we start with digital, right? That was actually my expertise, and I think it still is. But that was something I was doing at the labels. So very heavy digital, and then as we got a little further with that, we realized, oh, in digital we need to create a lot of content. So how do we go do that? That's really hard to do, as a lot of people have said. You know, it's hard to do externally, right? It's a lot of back and forth. You have to find people. Do you have budgets? This, that, all these different problems with that. So we found someone who could create content and brought that person in, right? So now we're spending time creating our content and then marketing that content on I guess it was social media at the time. MySpace maybe was probably part of it. Email lists, websites, whatever it may have been. Facebook was obviously a thing that was sort of getting going at the time. And I think that process just kept happening, right? We'd get a little further and said, oh, wow, it would be really great if we could do our licensing in-house, our music syncs, right? So I started dabbling in that. And it got to a point where I didn't have enough time to do that and look after digital and manage these people. So we hired a sync person. We just kept repeating that process until we got to where we were, you know, brick by brick. And you know, I think when you hire someone, it's a cost, right? What we found was when we would hire someone, it would actually help the company generate more revenue. So when we were ready to hire someone new, it wasn't a cost. Yeah, yes, it did cost something, but the company would generally succeed far more than we had been after we brought that extra person on. So we're just really careful about who it was, what it was, and sort of focusing the energy that way. And I think it was your bigger question about how do we spend our time now, focusing on things. Was that the ultimate
absolutely
aspect?
Yeah? You've got an overview of how many.
So we got to this staff, and like, how do we focus on what Green Day wants to do versus what Fall Out Boy wants to do, and so on. And I think it's like when there's a creative idea out there that everyone's on the same page with, you know, we just roll with it. We find it fun. You know, we don't have 100 artists. We have 15. It's not like we're drowning like that. So when there's a creative idea out there, as long as the timing works for everyone, we go. I think that's what gets everyone excited to come to work every day. You never know what idea is going to come up. You know, oh, we did this song, or we have this great video idea, or we want to do this funny little scheme. You know, whatever it may be. You know, when those ideas come up, you see everyone's eyes light up, and everyone jumps in, and everyone has ideas on how to go with it. So I think we have it at a really good place where we don't have too many acts, but we have enough, you know, like we were saying earlier with the talent, the ambition, as Karina said, hardworking. I did leave that out. That's highly important. You can't have ambition without hard work. But, you know, our staff has those attributes as well. They're all really talented. They're all super ambitious. They all work really hard, and they're excited to come to work every day. Sorry, say it again.
I'm hearing huge risk here from just looking at it from a business perspective. You know, we started this with all four of you saying how important that the artist is, and you want to help them get their message out there. But it's crazy. You're adapting based on the new direction that the artist or the audience wants to go in. So you're flexible, which is challenging, and you enjoy that. But that's not normal to the sort of corporations that have dominated the music industry traditionally, that they've invested in assets. And then also you don't have any real security, because you're not owning intellectual property, musical works or sound recordings in perpetuity. You have service agreements with artists, and there's a lot of responsibility on your part, so the artist could easily become dissatisfied. It seems to me that if the artist is to have more control over their careers, the managers need to have some more security and become more investable. And we're hearing from you guys how you're reinvesting your own money endlessly, and sometimes there's outside individuals will invest, high net worth individuals, or there's funding available. But it's not really a standard model based on agreements and contracts. It's much more a passion project. To any of you, do you see ways that this will change? It feels like we've come out of an old model, the paradigm has shifted, but we're still stuck with the business models and the contracts from the old system.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's based on trust, right? I mean, without trust, nothing's going to work. So that's something we spend an enormous amount of time building with the artist. That way, when it is time to go, there's no second guessing. We just roll. Yeah, there is tremendous risk in it all. But I think for us, that trust is a big part of it. You know, it helps the machine roll every day. Yes, we don't own the music in most cases. We don't own, you know, assets, copyrights, what have you. But you know, we're always building towards the bigger goal. And as long as our artists have, I keep repeating myself, but they keep having that ambition and they're willing to work, there's always money to be made in that. So it's like, you know, we play the long game with a lot of trust, and it tends to work out pretty well for us.
Darson, you recently got Arijit to talk to the legendary composer A.R. Rahman online. Was that hard to do? Because he's a shy guy who plays his music. I don't see him doing a lot on social media.
It was difficult, and yes and no both, because we've been trying to do this since 2.5 years now. And I think the only one of the good thing which happened due to COVID was that it was possible, because both of them had to do it digitally. They didn't have to go out of their own comfort to do this. It was easy because they both love each other. They both respect each other. And I mean, we keep on laughing about this, and I'm still smiling when I say this, that a conversation between two people who don't talk, you know. So two people interviewing each other, talking to each other, who generally doesn't talk. I mean, two of them are known to be the most shy musicians in the country. And they had a complete heartfelt conversation. The conversation started with music, ended with music. It was all about music. They kept on speaking, discussing about classical music, how did they use those specific tunes, and transcending information, those orchestra, those symphony, and those kind of stuff. They did not talk about the business aspect of music at all. Okay, they did not sing and perform at all. You know, so it was like a really, really cool conversation, and most musicians and anybody who loves music loved the conversation. So yeah, I mean, that was really cool.
Karina, that's two really famous artists talking to each other. It's not a new recording. That side of the artist-fan relationship, fans eat that stuff up, don't they?
They definitely do. And I really love putting artists together with their fans by any means. I mean, we try to do, as I was mentioning before, Zoom conversations, because that's what we got these days. But we have groups on WhatsApp. Sorry, we have groups on WhatsApp with our core fans for each of the artists, and we keep updating them. They are the first ones to receive the news about the new song that they will get, or special footage, personalized videos from the artist. I mean, I think it's essential to have your core fans close to the artist.
So you're really sort of managing that fan relationship.
Yeah.
And sometimes the fans try and take things off in their own direction. You had that recent stuff with the Rosanna cover Perhaps you can illustrate that for us.
Yeah, Africa. But yes, there was a moment of Rosanna as well. Yeah, that was fun. It was, you know, talk about just sort of like playing sort of the storyline, right? A fan online for some fun reason decided to sort of like do a daily torment to Weezer about, hey, you should cover the Toto song Africa. And I'm like, yeah, that's funny. And then it just kept happening every day. And then, and it was all in good fun. It was great. I think at one point the band said, well, all right, let's just do it. Why shouldn't we? But of course, being Weezer, they had their fun take on it, and they actually covered Rosanna instead, another big Toto song, and dropped that. When they did that, it sort of became the trolling the trolls, and the internet blew up, and it was really funny, and everyone had a good laugh. Got to listen to a fun cover song. But what they had up their sleeves a few days later was actually dropping the Africa cover as well. So when that happened, a few days later, the internet lit up even bigger. I mean, it was just like, I can't believe this actually happened. You know, this is the craziest thing ever. And the band went on to perform it on TV and so on and so forth. And it became such a fun project. The band decided to do an entire cover album that came out shortly after their studio album they were working on at the time. So sort of two albums happening at once. And it became a pretty big moment for the band in the most like organic possible way. There's no schemes here. No, no one was in a room saying we should do this. You know, it just happened, and we went with it. And I think the beauty of that being just so organic and playing out in such a fun way, it just made it added so much to what it actually was. And you know, it did wonders. And you know, always looking for those things out there. The artists are always looking for that. Like, how do we have fun with these fans, right? It's, there was a guy, I think his name was Kevin Kelly. I might have it switched. I think it's Kevin Kelly, wrote in Wired years ago about 1,000 fans. Like, you don't need millions, you just need thousands. And, you know, we have some small acts and we have some really big acts. And even with the really big acts, it's all about the 1,000 fans. And, you know, maybe it's more than 1,000, but you know, you don't need millions. You need to focus on your fan base and play to them, and, you know, give them what they don't know they even want yet, and try to stay ahead of everything. Don't be reactive. You can be reactive and you can have fun with that. And I think
that's a key point, isn't it? Steering that line, that's management, steering that line between being reactive and proactive and telling the story. The Q&A button on this Zoom chat, if any of you've got questions for these guys, please throw them into the Q&A. Kath, we're hearing there about, I'm thinking about how artists are more in control and empowered, and we've heard there a little bit about how the fans can take control or can at least steer what they're interested in, which is for any business is fantastic, to have that relationship with your audience, your consumer, where there's an emotional engagement and you can do stuff that rewards each other. Is that ultimately the expression of where the artist business is going, that it is all about the artist-fan relationship? And that's the hardest thing. I mean, is that possible for anyone else to run other than the artist and the manager? Because everyone else is working in silos?
I think it's been, the relationship has been pretty pivotal to an artist's success for some time. I think it's at the heart of everything. The artist-fan relationship is kind of paramount. I think it's just become a bit more obvious, particularly now without that layer of live performance to cushion everything. I think this idea that you have to interact with your fans and listen to them, and in your own unique voice as well, which is, I guess, coming to your question of whether others can manage that relationship. I think depending on how many fans you have within your community, you may need that assistance and that help. But I still think ultimately the fans know. They know if it's your artist. They know if it's you. There is a unique voice there that the artist has. And I think the fan craves that direct relationship and that direct line of conversation with that artist. And I think the artist, to a great degree, owes the fans that kind of relationship. I think it's just about where the line is for the artist and what they're comfortable with, and how comfortable they are interacting with their fans, and how, you know, where those boundaries are and what the structure is around that. And I think that there's a lot there that you have to flesh out with an artist. And it changes over time, as we were saying, as the journey develops and changes, you know, so does the relationship. And you have to be able to react to that. And you have to be able to, you know, find different ways of making that connection.
Sia is probably the artist who, for me, has most exemplified how to react to the demands of the modern era, that you're told go on social media, do all these things. So she put the wig on and made a thing out of not doing the thing that everyone, I don't mean the management company, but everyone else would assume that she should be doing. So I think that's iconic. I also think with Chance the Rapper has kind of changed the industry in that he's the first artist to go all the way to that huge success. There's been other artists who've independently released after they've been built up by labels, but he's the artist who's taken it independent from day one and stayed there, and he and his management deserve a lot of credit for that as huge influencers on all of us. You four today, you all worked so hard. Thank you so much for giving up your time, particularly Kath for staying up through the middle of the night. If you guys can hang around briefly, there's some questions in the Q&A for you. And just thank you so very much. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, everybody. And yes, another added thanks to Kath for doing this at an ungodly time in Australia. That was a really great panel. So now we are going to go on to our last session today, and we're going to hear from 4 different startups. So as you can see there, we're going to hear from Zebr, Fanaply, Show For Me, and Corite. And don't forget that you will be able to meet them individually in their own separate Zoom rooms. We will be putting the links in the chat so you know where to go for that. So let's kick off with Zebr and hear all the presentations.
Hey everyone, my name is Josh Dill and I'm the founder of Zebr. Zebr is the easiest way for artists to share their music through influencers. I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. So I've been in the music industry for over 10 years now. I've been working as a session musician and a drummer for some really great people. I've been lucky to work with Gabrielle Aplin. I was originally part of her band, doing her #1 album she did a while back. I've been working with Fox's singer-songwriter Hudson Taylor. I've also been part of the X Factor UK house band. So through my experiences working in the industry, I've seen a lot of projects go from inception to success, and I've always been fascinated by which elements were so important for that to happen. And I saw a lot of patterns happening and wanted to bring a modern twist to something I could create myself that would help new artists break through into more ways. So in 2018, I started building a community on Instagram and TikTok under Zebr. And through that, a lot of feedback that I got that I would always ask for is, what are you struggling with? And the main highlight that came up was marketing their music, being able to promote it in a modern way to get more attention and in an affordable way. Through that, I then developed the concept of the Zebr app, which is now, we launched 4 or 5 weeks ago, which has been incredible. And the basic concept of that is to market your music through and pick and choose influencers that you decide you want to send it to. So you go on and you browse through a variety of influencers, and I'll show you as well on the app in a second. And you can control your marketing yourself. So the great thing about it is I wanted to put the control into the artist's hands, or into the managers, or into the label's hands, so they can go through themselves and curate their own campaign. They can spend however much they want. They can browse through the influencers, see their social stats, engagement, see what kind of content they like, see what music they like, and they can submit that track directly to them, and they'll guarantee to get a response within a period of time. And that's what's great. So they have 2 days to respond to it, and you know they're going to have to listen to a period of the track and give you a reason if they didn't like it. And if they love it, they'll then share it. They have to credit the artist in the content, which we have sort of built all the systems for to cover. And you get a link straight back on the app with the content they've shared, a screenshot if it's a story, and it shows the artist being tagged in it. So, and it's you can literally spend £1. That was the kind of achievement for us to do, is make it as affordable as possible for everyone to be able to do. So you can go on and spend as little as you like, and each influencer is priced between 1 and 3 coins, depending on their engagement. So you can go for micro influencers or bigger influencers. We have someone there, say with like 5,000-10,000 followers, someone with 400,000 followers. So as you can see, I'm on the app as an artist. So this is what the artists see. So you literally browse through, and it's kind of like a dating app if some of you are using those. So you can be very personal and you can see all the influencers. So you click in to their profile, you can see what kind of music they like, and you can see all their engagement and stats there as well. And if you click those stats, it will take you to their profile. And you can see that Lily here is a 2 coin. You can also, what's great is you can filter here. So if you go up to the top, you can then filter by platform, by coin value, or by genre. So you could say, I want to look at fashion and beauty, 1 coins, 2 coins on Instagram. So Milan here. So he's great. He's literally just signed up today. So I'm going to press submit. I'm going to choose my song. I'm going to go for Late Night Swimming. And then I can see he's a 2 coin. I slide to submit, the most fun part of the app. And I do that, and it's sent it straight off. So now he'll receive that on the other end, and he'll then have 2 days to respond to it. You can see on here, into notifications, you can see the content being used. So this is one example here. And as you can see here, this piece of content now has 2,000 likes. And it has 30,000 plays, which is incredible. And this post only cost £2 to send to this influencer. And on here you can see, as on TikTok, where the music is being tagged, and that's a great way for other people to share it as well. See here, Tasha, so there's a screenshot of the story where the track has been used. You can see there by the music tile. I'll go down again. I can see Milan used the track today, and you can see the music tile there. And he's got I think he's got like 20,000-30,000 followers. So you're getting that track in front of their audience, and you can see as well that the artist's Instagram has been tagged there. So it can drive traffic to them. They can either share via Spotify, so that drives traffic to your Spotify. So there's incredible ways to just reach amazing people. So since launching 4 or 5 weeks ago, we're now just about to hit 3,000 submissions on the app, which blows my mind. It's incredible to think we've done that already. We've now had 900 songs used by influencers in content, some of those reaching tens of thousands of engagements, hundreds of thousands of views. We've got between 60 and 70 influencers for you to select from, adding more each week, building a broader and broader category of influencers. And we've got over 500 artists that have signed up and using the app. So really, really exciting start. But we are currently developing a way for labels and managers and agencies to manage multiple accounts on a desktop version. So you can access it from your computers and laptops. It's going to be a very well organized, efficient site to go through and add lots of artists into one account. You can then select through all the influencers till we're about 2-3 weeks off launching that onto the desktop. So we're looking forward to inviting you all to that as well.
Hello, my name is Grant Dexter, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Fanaply. Physical collectibles have been around forever. Baseball cards, ticket stubs, CD and album collections are all expressions of fans and their behaviors. The collectible and memorabilia industry is massive, over $200 billion a year globally. These days, fan behavior and collecting has moved online. The most obvious example are virtual goods. Think of Twitch streamers selling icons and badges to your kids. The hot new game Animal Crossing with real-world brands and designers rushing to create virtual items. And of course, Fortnite, selling $300 million a month in virtual backpacks and dance moves. So far, most of these virtual goods are being sold in closed ecosystems like video games. But fan behavior is everywhere. For some people, it's getting that first comment on a new music video, or having a celebrity like your tweet, or getting a selfie with a superstar. Fanaply is taking the mechanics used by video games to sell virtual goods and applying it to the currently disorganized and non-monetized fan behavior that already exists around sports, music, and entertainment. We proved our model at Coachella last year as their official digital collectibles partner, where we gamified the festival and awarded fans digital collectibles inside the official Coachella app. In what was supposed to be a small pilot, we had over 60,000 participants and awarded over 40,000 individual collectibles. And 24,000 of those fans elected to export their digital collectibles after the festival to Fanaply's site. Coachella called it their most successful first-year digital marketing campaign in the company's history. When Coachella comes back again, Fanaply will too, this time with artist collectibles, in-app purchases, and the ability for fans to earn collectibles before and after events. In the meantime, we've launched new collectibles to help fans commemorate and be recognized for things they're doing every day, like being one of the first 100 fans to watch a YouTube video premiere, or being the #1 listener to Frank Ocean on Spotify that day, or being someone who attended an online event, like Travis Scott's Fortnite concert. Let me show you how it works. Just a week ago, we sent a test email to 5,000 fans who first experienced Fanaply at Coachella in 2019. Of the 2,600 people who opened the email, over 1,000 of them registered and redeemed a collectible on our site. In fact, they went on to collect an average of 5 more collectibles each. Our collectibles give fans something permanent to show off via social media, with custom Facebook and Instagram AR filters, and the ability to export collectibles into their Google and Apple wallets. Fans can import them into their favorite apps and digital platforms to show off and earn new ones. Collectibles can be bundled into status, and fans can be rewarded as we create loyalty and incentive programs around them. And status can mean different things to different people. It may be a locker room visit with your favorite sports team, or the ability to gift a collectible in its status to a friend. It may get you early access to content or backstage at a virtual concert. What if you own a collectible or status but can't use it? Sell it. Because the collectibles and attributed status are all tokenized by our technology, they can be sold in the secondary market like a rare baseball card. And because the associated status is also tokenized, Fanaply and its partners can share in a percentage of that revenue in the secondary market in perpetuity. How do we make money? It starts with a freemium model. We give away a ton of collectibles around fan behavior. For every 100,000 of these, we estimate $25,000 in revenue on paid upgrades. We then partner with celebrities and athletes to sell official collectibles, generating an estimated $50,000 to $250,000 per partner. We also license our technology to festivals, teams, and conferences to build collectibles into their official apps. For every 10 new clients next year, we'll bring in $250,000 in licensing revenue. This creates an ecosystem. Fans earn collectibles, organizations use them to reward behavior and create status, and then new fans purchase that status via secondary sales. We estimate 1% of collectibles will trade 3 or 4 times a year at an average of $5 each. This starts small, but becomes millions of dollars of ARR at extreme margins in 2021 and beyond. We have traction with AEG as we're already integrated into Coachella, the biggest festival on the planet. And we're in discussions to work with several other amazing festivals at AEG. We have a licensing deal with Universal and Bravado to sell collectibles to their whole roster. And thanks in part to Techstars, we have pilots in the works with Warner, Sony, and E1 for our freemium collectibles. We're looking for partners who can help grow the business, as well as those who want to find new ways to identify and engage their fans online. Some of the most successful startups in the world have been built by simply organizing and monetizing human behavior. Head over to fanaply.com today and start being recognized and rewarded for being the fan you are. Thank you very much.
Hello guys, I'm Mary. I'm with Show For Me Music Interaction Network. We are a platform for musicians, music pros, and fans to connect and carry out their music business. Many actually call us Facebook for musicians because we have a lot of social tools in addition to our business tools, but we are obviously much more than that, and right now I will tell you all about it. Our platform provides the space to work on artist branding, to turn followers into fans, and to monetize music. Artist branding, as you know, is obviously very important because this is your position on the market. This is how your fans see you and are able to identify with you. And then after that, you need to turn all the followers who like you into actual paying fans. So that's what you are able to do on Show For Me with the tools that we provide. And obviously monetizing your music and show is very important. It ties in with that, and This is what you need to actually make money on your work, and this is the kind of tools that we provide for you on Show For Me. How does that happen? It happens in your artist club on Show For Me. Your artist club is the place where you present your brand, where you sell your music, sell your tickets, sell your merch, and connect with fans. What's important, your artist club on Show For Me can be ran both by the musician or a representative of the band, or by someone like management or label. It doesn't have to be the exact that person. Which is very convenient. Your artist club is your hub to build your fan base, to interact with them, and then move to monetize your fan base with the tools that are provided in the artist club. Let's look at the artist club by the British band All Hail Hyena. As you can see here, this is what it looks like, and to join the artist club, fans can choose the membership that's free or as a premium member, and that costs $1 a year, and that's for one artist club. This paid membership option is the first point of monetization and in Show For Me, and it helps to differentiate between paying fans and just followers who are liking and following, but they are not interested in paying for your music. And this is a very low price point, so it's affordable for your fans, and it's really effective to differentiate between the type of fans that you have, and really build your fan base and understand where it's going. And the membership is also per artist, so it's not for the platform, it's for a specific artist that the fan is subscribed to, and it's not distributed between multiple artists, so it's very easy to just distribute profit. Next, let's move to concerts. This is the key point of monetization for the whole industry. And in their artist club, the artists can sell tickets to live shows, to online concerts, and crowd-funded concert, which is a way to gauge demand, because the concert only happens if fans buy enough tickets for the event. You can also add merch or exclusive content to bundle tickets to your shows, which will help you bring the profit up and get more from the ticket sales. We also have built-in concert streaming for online concerts, so that you can broadcast your show directly from your artist club, and you don't have to move your fans between platforms, have them register somewhere else, or just go to a different website. And last but not least, in your artist club on Show For Me, you can sell music. So you can do all of your music business in one place without switching the platforms, having fans register anywhere else. With music sales, we also have the tip-in option, so fans can pay either the price that the artist has set for their album, EP, or single, or they can support you by adding some more. They can type in their own price that's higher than what is set by the artist, and this is the tip that they include for the artist. And we also offer music crowdfunding, which is essentially a setup for an album pre-order, where fans can contribute funds to the album that's just being developed by the artist, and then they can get that album later when it's released. All of these points of monetization that are available in your Show For Me Artist Club, they allow you to walk all of your fans through all of these points of monetization and actually differentiate between your fan base, and to understand who are paying customers, who likes which music. You can understand what formats and kind of music your fans prefer. You can add structure to your fan base, and you're doing all of your music business in a single place. And this way, you're also turning your regular fans and followers into super fans, who are paying customers, who are invested in your product and who have bought so much, and you know that you can rely on a certain level of sales. And let's wrap this up with a little bit of information about fees. Our platform is free to join and use, and our fees are success-based. So you making profit on Show For Me is us making profit on Show For Me, because we only charge musicians and music professionals our fees, which are one of the lowest on the market, and it's 6%. We only charge the fee when musicians or music pros are withdrawing the profit. So that's pretty cool. I guess I have to wrap it up. Thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you in the chat after all the presentations. If you have any questions, our team will be able to answer them. And do join ShowForMe and try out our tools for yourself and make a profit with us. Thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Mattias and I'm one of the co-founders behind Corite. And I want to spend a couple of minutes tell you about our service. And first, a little background. My experience of the music business is kind of long. I've worked as the commercial director for Universal Music in the time when Spotify was launching. So I was part of building services like Dexter, the universal playlist service, and also SpinUp, which was one of the frontier services in the self-distribution area. Me and my co-founder partner, Emil, realized a couple of years ago that there is still things to be done in the music industry, and we love music and we wanted to get back to it. So we came up with this idea, Corite. We believe that millions of artists will be talented enough, but also have the ambition enough to actually make a living out of music. The current industry will never be able to cope with these kind of volumes. The only source we saw was big enough was actually the listeners and the fans out there, the people that loves, listens, and share the music they love. And we believe that could be the key to the future shift of the music industry that we hope we can be part of. So the vision of Corite is that we want to empower a new global generation of artists by engaging their fans to become their true collaborators. In its essence, what it's all about is that people that listens to music, they always know if they like it or not. That's a human fact, I would say. So when you like it, you're probably up to back it if you got the opportunity. And if you have the chance to invest in a song and actually own a piece of the upside when it streams, you will also have a high incentive to actually push the song further. This is what Corite is all about. So what we do is that we will let the artist get funding and marketing support from the investors and backers exactly in the time when they need it the most, which is before the release. And then we will distribute the music through the services all over the planet, like Spotify and the Apple Music out there. And we also help you engage these backers to share the music and then also share the revenues and the success when the music is streamed out there. This is how it works. It always starts with the artist, and the artist has to set a goal for his campaign. So imagine you're like a Justin Bieber kind of size artist. He would probably be aimed for $1 million, which is totally fine based on his current streams and also his number of backers out there, which I think he has like 150 million followers on Instagram or something. But it also works for a small and unestablished artist. Could be the first single you release, and the goal could be 500 euros instead. So when you set the goal, you set the percentage on how much you're prepared to share of the revenues throughout the next year, and it's only 1 year with the backers. These two numbers together will give you a streaming target, meaning a number where you have reached what you want in the campaign, where everybody will be happy, so to speak. And this could obviously be a bit different. So in the Justin Bieber case, it's probably 100 million of streams or something like that, or for the new artists, it could be 100,000. But still, it's a target that we can communicate with the backers. So then it's the backer's turn. With the target set, the backer can invest, super simple, from 10 euros and upwards in the song and get a piece of the pie, as you see in this example, 0.06% of the song. Then when the campaign is done, the money is delivered, we release the song to all the streaming platforms, and we follow the process, and we share the daily data with all the key players. The backers will know as much as the artists on the progress of the track. And then we pay out the royalties, and we split the royalties among all the investors during the campaign period. To summarize it all, first step is to help the artist to raise the money through our site and through our campaign. Next step is to back and help the song get released on Spotify, and use the backer community to actually spread the word and get the buzz out, so the song streams as much as possible. And then throughout the campaign year, continue to push the backers to help you stream the song and share the song further, but also celebrate the victories. Tell them when we reach the gold level status, tell them when we reach the first 1 million streams, etc. To be able to make it a fun process to be part of. And I will give you one example. This is a Swedish artist, a pop artist that we helped this summer. His name is Danny Saucedo, and he's fairly big for being a Swede, actually one of the biggest. So he has around like 350,000 followers on Instagram. And he managed to raise, in only 20 hours, he managed to raise 13,000 euros with our platform, which is the budget that he needed to actually release the single on his own. So I don't have the time to tell you more about this today, but if you want, please read. There are articles about us in Rolling Stone magazine and also Business Worldwide. Thanks for watching today, guys. I hope to see you all at corite.com in the near future.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much to all of our speakers today. And don't forget that you can now go over and meet all of the individual startups. We're putting the links into the chat. So do please head over there and ask them any questions that you would like to ask them. So that's it for the second day of Sandbox Summit. Let's just have a quick look at what we're going to be looking at tomorrow. And don't forget, we have the first come, first served networking roulette at 2 o'clock. We have got no less than 3 speakers from Spotify, including the North American editor, Lizzie Szabo, looking at genreless playlists. Lizzie's then going to stay for the future playlist panel to be joined by MXM Toon and Ty Baston. Then you're going to hear from some of my colleagues, where we are going to be telling you all about the various dashboards of Spotify for Artists, Apple Music for Artists, Pandora Amp, Apple Music for Artists, YouTube Studio, and Deezer Backstage. And then we're going to end the session with a great panel chaired by Mike Jabara from MQA, when we are looking at how DSPs can innovate and differentiate their services. And right at the end of the day, after the session, if you'd like to meet either us or MQA, then do please book those meetings. They are one-to-one in the sense of individual company meetings. And again, we will be including those links in the chat and in your emails tomorrow. So thanks to everyone. I hope you really enjoyed it. Don't forget, we're going all week. So going until Friday, and yeah, really hope you come back again and enjoy another session with us tomorrow. Thanks a lot.